Hello and welcome. Today we're going to pop the hood on the internet a little bit and tackle a really core question. What's the actual difference between a static and a dynamic website? Let's dive in.
You know that feeling, right? You land on one website and it feels like a slick, polished digital brochure. It's beautiful, but it never changes. Then you hop over to another one and suddenly it knows your name, it's got your shopping cart saved, it's showing you news that just happened. That isn't magic, that's the fundamental difference we're going to unpack today.
So first up, let's meet our first contender in this story, the static website. I want you to think of this as the reliable, super straightforward, and incredibly fast workhorse of the web.
Now, the most important phrase here is pre-built. The content on a static site is totally fixed. A developer builds out the pages, and that exact finished file is what gets delivered to your browser every single time. It's the same for me, it's the same for you, it's the same for everyone.
The whole process is just beautifully simple. A developer writes the code, they upload those files to a server, and when you go to the page, the server just finds that file and shoots it straight to you. There's no thinking involved, no processing on the fly, no database calls. It's just a direct, simple delivery.
And, that simplicity leads to a pretty clear trade-off. On one hand, static sites are blazing fast and way more secure, because there's really not much there to attack. But on the other hand, updating the content can be a serious manual chore, and you can just forget about personalized features like user logins or comments.
And this right here shows you exactly where static sites really shine. A personal portfolio, a landing page for a new product, or a simple event website. These are all perfect examples where the content is pretty much fixed, and the main goals are just speed and reliability. They do one job, and they do it perfectly.
Okay, so now let's meet our second character, the dynamic website. If a static site is that fixed brochure, this one is the smart, interactive powerhouse that really shapes most of our online world today.
So the keywords for this one are generates content in real time. A dynamic page literally doesn't even exist until you ask for it. The server is more like a chef in the back. It pulls all these different ingredients from a database and assembles a totally custom page just for you, right in that moment.
Just look at how much more is happening behind the curtain here. Your click sets off a whole chain reaction. The server has to run code, it has to talk to a database to grab information, it builds a brand new page from scratch, and then it sends it over to you. This is what makes all those cool interactive features we totally take for granted even possible.
And of course, here's the other side of that trade-off. Dynamic sites give you unbelievable power. We're talking personalization, user accounts, and super easy updates through systems like WordPress. But all that power comes with a price. They're more complex, they can be slower, and they definitely require more attention to keep them secure.
I mean, just think about your day-to-day on the internet. Facebook showing you your specific newsfeed. Amazon recommending products it thinks you'll like. Netflix suggesting your next binge watch. These are all classic examples of dynamic websites in action, creating a totally unique experience for every single person.
All right, so we've met our two contenders. Now it's time to put them side by side, head to head, in a direct showdown. Let's see exactly how they stack up against each other on the stuff that really matters.
Okay, let's just run through this. For content, static is fixed, dynamic changes. Easy enough. Technology-wise, static sites are just simple files, while dynamic sites need that complex backend code and a database. That's a huge difference. Because of that, static sites absolutely win on performance and security. They're just faster and safer. No contest. But when it comes to interactivity and building something really big, dynamic is the clear champion. Now, it's worth pointing out that newer approaches, like what's called the Jamstack, are starting to blur these lines a bit, trying to give you the best of both worlds. But for now, understanding this core difference is still so important.
So, knowing all of this, how in the world do you actually decide? See, it's not really about which one is better. It's about which one is right for the job you're trying to do. Let's make this super practical.
So the takeaway here is pretty simple. If you're building a marketing site, a personal blog, or an online resume where speed and keeping costs low are your absolute top priorities, then a static site is almost always going to be your best bet. But the second you need users to log in, or you need a shopping cart, or you need a way for people who aren't developers to update the site every day, you've pretty much crossed over into dynamic territory. If you're building a real application, an e-commerce store, or a bustling online community, you absolutely need the power that a dynamic site gives you. Whew, okay, we have covered a lot of ground, from the basic definitions all the way to practical advice. But look, if you only remember one thing from all of this, please make it this next point.
This really hits the nail on the head. A static site is like serving a delicious meal that's already been cooked and plated. A dynamic site has a chef in the back, ready to cook a completely personalized meal the very moment you order it. That is the fundamental difference, right there.
And that brings us to the end, but it kind of leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? As we mentioned, new tech is blurring the lines between that static speed and dynamic power, making the choice more interesting than ever. So where do you think the future of the web is headed?